Central Texas School District's solution to shorten its police response times is drawing criticism from local emergency officials who say it poses serious security risks.
On this episode of Inside the Investigations, investigator Kelly Wiley discusses why the district is making the changes and who believes it could work. And good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN live studio for another edition of Inside the Investigations, where we deep dive into a story that our Investigates team here at KXAN has reported on in the last week. And joining me is our co-host, investigative reporter Kelly Wiley. Kelly, thank you for being here as always.
Thank you for having me.
Today we are focusing on a story that you are reporting in particular, and I just want to show everybody the headline so that you can check it out over on our website in the investigations section. But Kelly, just to reiterate, what you cover here at KXAN is mostly educational issues across the state. And recently you've been looking into the Round Rock Independent School District. And this year, the district made some notable changes. Can you talk about what those are exactly?
Yes, so Round Rock ISD is one of hundreds of schools in Texas that has its own police department. It's becoming more and more common, especially now that the legislature has required one armed officer outside of every campus. But last year, for a variety of reasons, the Round Rock Independent School District also decided to create its own dispatch center. Round Rock ISD, just for those who aren't aware, it has campuses that span 4 jurisdictions, including some in the city of Austin, Travis County. So when a 911 call is made inside a school, it's automatically going to one of 4 public safety answering points in whatever region the school is in. Then that PSAP, it's called PSAP for short, will route the call to Williamson County's dispatch center. And then Round Rock Independent School District's dispatchers and its police officers, they will get that call and that information. The district explains it's kind of naturally creating a delay. So the change they made doesn't completely get rid of that process, but it does now allow for non-life threatening calls made inside their schools to go directly to their self-dispatch center during regular business hours. So we did talk to Williamson County again because that's their dispatch center before theirs, right? The calls are going there first after the PSAP. We talked to Williamson County and they said the calls they feel actually shouldn't be going to these other public safety answering points at all. They're now asking the district to reconfigure their phones so that when 911 calls are made, they'll essentially go straight to Williamson County Dispatch and then to the self-dispatch center. So again, cutting out some of those steps.
So interesting to hear kind of the behind the scenes look at where all these calls go and the process that it follows. Very interesting to follow that too. So we talked about that one change with the police radios and the 911 calls that are happening inside the schools during regular business hours. What other tweaks did the district make recently as well?
Okay, so the other thing the district was concerned about was their radios. The district superintendent said there's been this ongoing issue of the police radios dropping out in certain areas of school buildings. Think about it. These buildings are built with steel and they're really thick walls. And sometimes it's just dropping out in certain places. Like if you think you're on the phone and all of a sudden you can't hear your mom anymore and you're asking, are you still there? So he kind of described officers having to sometimes walk a few steps further in the building to pick back up on the radios. So as a solution, the district decided to buy these push-to-talk radios. They use Wi-Fi and a federally funded cellular network, and this was their solution to their radio coverage issue. But this has become a point of contention between them and their partners.
Can you explain a little bit more about why that is?
So we'll have to go back a bit. Last August, Williamson County leaders, including the sheriff and the senior director of emergency services, they signed their name to this letter saying there were serious security risks associated with the district using these radios. In a statement to our team last week, the county doubled down on that thought process. They said that the push-to-talk radios don't interface with what's called the Greater Austin Travis County Regional radio system. It's also called Gators. And that it would, and this was a quote, not be suitable for mission critical communications. Williamson County Emergency Communications, they said, can't monitor the push to talk devices. And they said other first responders can't either.
And that could potentially be a problem.
Yeah, based on what they're saying, that would be a problem. In the first letter, the county actually harkened back to some of the communication issues that were happening during the mass shooting in Uvalde, basically saying they want to avoid any kind of communication like issue occurring. But the district has pushed back on this. They think that there's been a miscommunication, and they said that they're really not getting rid of these radios that they've used for years, the ones that they've been having these radio coverage issues with. They said they're actually getting these push-to-talk radios as a redundancy, right? So they're going to have both, so that they always have a way to speak to other first responders and fellow officers, and also any kind of central emergency base that might be there for an emergency. So they are reiterating that this is not us chucking the old process or the old radios. This is us making sure that we have redundancies in place.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Uvalde shooting. I remember in some of the after-action reports and some of the criticism about the response, police radios were a big sticking point there. But going back to Round Rock, the district has schools in multiple jurisdictions that are not in just Williamson County. It's pretty amazing to see how sprawling that district is. Yeah. But what have other jurisdictions said about using this particular technology?
Well, we reached out to the city of Austin, and they've actually tested these push-to-talk radios for Round Rock ISD. They were trying to test if voice traffic could be heard between the push-to-talk radios and, again, that Gator system, the Greater Austin Travis County Regional Radio System. And they said this was a feasibility test. And they said, as a result, they found that it could be done, that the voice traffic could be heard both ways. Round Rock ISD has already signed an interlocal agreement with the city of Austin, and the city of Austin says that it actually expects a final signature on that agreement by the end of this month.
One thing that we have yet to talk about so far this morning, Kelly, is why the district wants to make these changes in the first place, what the purpose of those are.
So we actually went to the school district's dispatch center and met with a couple of their dispatchers who walked us through a lot of this process. And we also sat down with the superintendent. And one resounding message from all of those people is that they want to have a quicker response time, which is basically the time it takes from a 911 call being made to its officers to them arriving on scene. In these cases, it would be to a school during an emergency. But it's actually difficult to assess just how big an issue their response time is, because the district actually won't release that data to the public or to us.
I would think that would be really important information and insight for not only the community, but for district leaders to be able to share that publicly. So why aren't they doing that?
Well, for some context, at the beginning of our research into these changes that the district wanted to make and is making, we wanted to know what the police response time was, just for that very reason that you described. We wanted to also be able to compare it to other school districts of similar size. And so we requested the same data from all of the school districts that had their own police departments. Some school districts, and I should clarify, we requested that from those in Central Texas that had their own police departments. And some of the districts that we made those requests to say they didn't track this data at all, and therefore they couldn't provide those records. Austin ISD, Hutto ISD, Bastrop, those were among the districts that had the data showing how quickly they responded over time to emergencies, broken down by the priority level, the urgency of the call. Those districts provided that data to us relatively quickly, within weeks. But Round Rock ISD, they declined our public records request. The district is withholding that data showing its average response time, and its legal team is citing this 2020 Texas Attorney General ruling that basically allowed agencies to choose, and that is important, to choose to withhold that information if they believe it could jeopardize public safety. And that's the argument that Round Rock ISD is making. They believe that this would give bad actors information about any potential vulnerabilities that they have. Again, to go back to that word, that choice, Texas has laws around public records, deciding what is available to us and what's confidential. And so if something's confidential, a district, any agency would have no choice but to deny a records request. But that's not this situation. This is the Attorney General giving districts a choice whether or not to withhold something based on if they believe it could jeopardize public safety.
With that discretion, though, families in that district and other stakeholders, they're not able to track the problem itself, but how the solution might turn out and work.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. This is something we have our eye on, and we're continuing to find out more about because we want to know that too, right? Like, they put these solutions in place. One thing that despite the disagreements between the agencies about how to move forward, they all want to make sure that kids in schools are safe. Those have been the conversations that I have. They all want to make sure that all agencies, including Round Rock ISD's police department, can get there quickly and respond. That's the commonality there. It's more around how to get there and how to do it. And so we'll be following up to see how they continue to work together, what choices are made, if they make any more changes, and hopefully to get some kind of idea of how this is helping, or if it is helping at all.
School security conversations will undoubtedly continue, not only in Round Rock, but across our districts. And I know that you'll be following that very closely, Kelly. And we want to thank you again for joining us for this conversation. And again, you can read Kelly's full report and see her video stories there. The headline is Round Rock ISD Police Want to Respond Faster. County partners worry about their plans. You can find that in the Investigate section on KXAN.com. Investigator Kelly Wiley, thank you again for joining us for Inside the Investigations, and we will see you back here next week.
See you soon.
All right, everybody, that's Kelly Wiley. I'm Will Dupree. We will see you back here again next week for Inside the Investigations. Take care. We'll see you soon.